witness is the Honorable Jonathan Adelstein. He is the administrator of the Rural Utilities Service in the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The Rural Utilities Service is charged with enhancing public utilities to rural areas in the United States via public-private partnerships. Prior to his appointment, Mr. Adelstein served as a commissioner of the Federal Communications Commission from 2002 to 2009. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairwoman, Ranking Member Graves, and members of the committee. We're certainly appreciative of the opportunity to testify here today, and it's a special honor to appear with my good friend, Assistant Secretary Larry Strickling, who has done such an outstanding job of leading the NTIA, and it's a real tribute to his leadership and our good working relationship that we've worked so seamlessly together, as he noted, and make sure these programs are coordinated from top to bottom. RUS has a long and highly successful experience since its beginnings as the Rural Electrification Administration back in 1935, the deployment of electric, telephone, and water service to rural areas. I think it's especially fitting that we're having this hearing here today, because today, actually, this very day marks the 60th anniversary of the telecommunications program at RUS. We first began the telephone program, trying to serve areas of the country. One-third of the country, of people in rural areas, did not have a phone in 1949. And thanks to the RUS's programs, today it's virtually universal. We're now applying this expertise that we developed beginning 60 years ago to this newer technology, to broadband. And it's indicated by the major resources that Congress provided in the Recovery Act. Improve access to affordable broadband is a high priority for the Obama administration and Congress, and I know it is for this committee as well. It's certainly critical for the small business community, as you've noted. Broadband levels the playing field, gives rural businesses access to national and international markets, enables very small and home-based businesses to succeed. It's one of the key foundations of the 21st century economy that rural businesses need to survive and remain competitive. And we've done extensive outreach to small businesses, Assistant Secretary Strickling has noted. We have to put the benefits to small business front and center, as you are doing here through this hearing today. This summer, the USDA's own Economic Research Service examined the economic effects of having broadband in rural communities. Its report concluded that employment growth was higher and non-farm private earnings greater in counties with a longer history of broadband availability. Benefits include access to online course offerings, telemedicine, and telehealth services living for those remote areas. Agricultural producers and farm-based businesses are also more reliant on Internet access to conduct sales transactions, advertise their businesses, and monitor real-time changes in commodities markets and tracking global crop prices. It's clear that broadband access is a necessary component for sustainable growth in rural communities. Small businesses are the engine of economic growth, and they just can't make it without broadband today in rural America. So we need to make sure that small businesses in rural America have every bit as much access to broadband as those in any other parts of the country if our overall economy is to survive and to thrive and our growth is to be maximized. This isn't just an issue for rural areas. The success of rural small business is an issue of concern to our overall economy. We're seeing jobs outsourced overseas at a time when they should be insourced to rural parts of the United States. But that can't happen if they have broadband in Korea, but they don't have it in rural Alabama. We have to make sure that we do that. And the RUS, I think, is in a position to help. Since 1995, we've required that all new telecommunications capacity that we finance be broadband capable. Our Community Connect and distance learning and telemedicine programs are examples of highly successful and oversubscribed programs that are key in the ability of rural areas to attract and retain small business. The USDA Broadband Loan Program, which was created in the 2002 Farm Bills, provided over $1.1 billion to more than 90 broadband projects in rural communities spanning 42 states. 36% of those loans have gone to startup companies, many of which, of course, are small businesses. So we know how to work with small business. We like to do it. We like to work with startups. And on top of that, we provided $4.4 billion in loans since 2001 through our regular program for broadband-capable infrastructure. Now, the Recovery Act marks a huge new chapter for us in this effort. Since its enactment, we've worked side by side with our partners at NTIA, the White House, the FCC, and throughout the administration to fulfill the President's vision of promoting broadband access to every part of the United States. The collaboration we've seen has really been unprecedented. So the RUS and NTIA are now engaged in our respective reviews of applications for over $28 billion in funding requests. And we're using the 75 years experience that we have in lending to rural America. We have less than a 1% default rate for our telecommunications portfolio. So I think you're having a hearing you had a hearing last week on capital formation and capital availability. And we are at a time when most lenders are reluctant to extend loans. We're looking at doubling our entire loan portfolio in 1 year with these Recovery Act funds. We are a rural development bank, and we're open for business. We want to provide those loans to these small businesses, and we're going to use the $2.5 billion in funding that Congress provided to leverage them, to use our budget authority to provide loans, grants, and loan grant combinations to prospective applicants. We hope to stretch this $2.5 billion significantly to facilitate the deployment of broadband technology as far and wide as we can. We're now in the process of evaluating first-round applications and expect to begin issuing awards shortly. Our initial plan might have moved back by a few weeks, but we still hope to make announcements within a month of when we originally planned. Well over half of the investment that we have is planned for the second round, so the concerns that you raised today and the changes we make can be applied in future rounds of funding. I think we should continue to plan to combine our planned for second and third rounds into a single round in order to give applicants additional time to create strong proposals and to ensure that we're able to meet the goal of obligating all funds by September 2010. And we certainly do need to streamline the process as you indicated. We want to make this as easy for small business as we possibly can, and we understand some of the challenges that they have faced in the application process. So we'll put forward an announcement soon about how we're going to move forward on these rounds, and we'll certainly take to heart what we learned in the first round, some of the problems that small businesses have experienced. We want to listen to the concerns that have been raised. We're very aware of concerns that have been raised about a wide range of issues, not only the application process, but things like the definition of rural and remote areas, eligibility standards for unserved and underserved areas, scoring weights for various factors, and some concerns raised by satellite companies as well. Without speculating on specific changes we might make, we'll certainly be guided by an evaluation of our experience in the first round and prepared to make changes accordingly. So we certainly welcome your input from this committee on how we can best move forward and apply the lessons learned in round one toward the work ahead of us in the next round, which we anticipate in the coming months. Toward that end, the RUS and NTIA, as Assistant Secretary Strickling indicated, plan to seek formal written comments on ways to better meet the requirements of the Recovery Act very soon. We will release a request for information shortly to gather that information, and certainly welcome the committee's input on that. We'll continue to assure that implementation of the broadband initiatives a collaborative and coordinated effort with our partners at NTIA and throughout the administration. It's certainly an honor and a privilege to work with you on behalf of the 65 million Americans who live in rural America. We look forward to continuing to work closely with Congress in making affordable broadband service widely available throughout the country. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.